Hey,
Hey,
good evening.
good evening. Good evening.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good, good. It's been a busy, busy day. Hi, Facebook, everyone. How are you? You don't have to be shy. We're all friends here. You can make a comment, question, say hello so we know you are here. Yes, we got a heart. Hey, thank
Same for
you.
Instagram. I'm live on Instagram as well.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. So, tonight, right, Dr. T, we are talking about why gentle parenting doesn't work. I don't know if you want to share with the people before we introduce ourselves, what led us to bring this to the Facebook and IG Live tonight.
Well, I think there was just a lot of misinformation about gentle parenting, especially on social media. It is rampant. Like, as you can see, if you open TikTok and do gentle parenting, you'll see a lot of people using it incorrectly and also saying the same thing, like, this is why it doesn't work. It only works for gentle kids. And I think when there's a lot of misinformation, I feel like it's our duty as therapists, clinicians, people who specialize in this to really address it head on so that people are just properly informed and using the right strategies.
Yeah, totally agree. And I know you and I have talked about the term gentle parenting.
Mhm.
We'll get into that. But we should probably introduce ourselves.
Yeah,
So I'll
that
let you continue. You introduce yourself and I'll follow suit.
Oh, I'll be quick. My name is Dr. T. I'm the owner of Path to Growth Counseling Services in Floral Park, and we also do virtual services. I'm a psychologist and also a school psychologist. I've been an educator for over 10 years, and I have my private practice, and we've been open for 5 years.
Nice. And I'm Serene Prince. I am a licensed clinical social worker, licensed therapist. I own Orchard Blue Counseling Services. I'm also a parent coach. And my specialty is child and adolescent psychotherapy that I love, 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 love doing. And I'm just being more intentional in creating larger spaces for our parents, and
Yeah.
so that brought us to tonight. This is not the first time that Dr. T and I have collaborated. I think this is our third
Yeah.
third
Yeah. You've done a
time.
few things. Hmm.
Yeah. And so we just find that we share a lot of the same modalities, theoretical frameworks, and our journey and the trajectory of where we're headed in terms of our practices. Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah. So I think what we probably should start off with is a few questions for our audience. Um, and so we have a list of questions for you all. So we want to ask you, share with us what you think gentle parenting is. What is gentle parenting to you?
And also, is it working for you? Is Have you seen it on TikTok? Like, let us know and we can kind of address some concerns
Yeah.
or questions.
We want to get feedback from the audience, right? Because we also, we know that some people have an understanding of it. We know that a lot of people have done a lot of research around it and that some parents are actually utilizing it. So we want to make sure that we're not starting from A, which we probably will be later on a little bit, but want to start off where you are. So share with us in the comments what gentle parenting is for you. So, okay, so we have one. Thank you for that. So, Melanie Mills shares parenting without blame, shame, or pain. Ooh, we like that.
Yeah, I do like that.
Right? I love that. Parenting without blame, shame, or pain. Yes. I like the part where the blaming part, the shaming part and pain, but I think I really like the part of the shame. I don't know about you, Dr. T.
I agree. And I think that, we're all human. So I don't ever want to be like, we're going to do something without, because those things are also teaching moments for us as parents. While I agree with the definition, I think it's beautiful. it's also important to just focus on like, hey, like what is also realistic for parents and what's realistic for families.
Hmm. I agree with that too, because I think a lot of times, especially when there is, and thank you, Melanie, we appreciate that. But
Thank
we
you.
just kind of want to clarify in terms of blame. All the words are right, they're useful in our lives. And blame is accountability. Yeah. So it's holding the child accountability for their behavior, their actions, or undesirable behavior. And blame is quite okay when it's used in a way that is helpful and is a teachable moment, as Dr. T has mentioned. Um,
We do have
so,
someone on Instagram who said, and this is from Ebony Mindful Moves. Hey, Ebony. She said she has a 1 year old and she's a clinician and she's in a pediatric doctor's office right now. And she's like, I do not watch what's on TikTok in relation to gentle parenting. And yeah, because it can be triggering. It could definitely be triggering.
hmm, what other questions, Dr. T, you want to pose to the audience?
Well, I think that especially because me, both Serena and I, we work with the culture. And just like, do you feel like this is something that works for our culture? Like, what are your thoughts on that, on gentle parenting and parenting within your culture and teaching your children values?
Mm-hmm. You know, going back to what the clinician Ebony mentioned, who's in the pediatric office. Big up, hey Ebony, how are you? Yeah, I like that. Ebony mentioned not looking at TikTok. TikTok is a beautiful place. Social media is a beautiful place, but it can also, I think, for some parents, question their parenting or the way in which they're doing it, and it
Yeah,
delivers a lot of subjective looks, and rightfully so, right? People are going to express from their point of view, but when it comes to the point where it's like this is gentle parenting, this is what it is, and when we have our new parents or parents who are just trying to navigate parenting, it's not, it can, it can be disruptive, I think.
right.
I think that's what Ebony was trying to express.
Yeah. And she also, Ebony also added, she said, but the parents are worried and they too say it doesn't work, but I disagree.
Mm. Mhm. And we're going to get into that, right? Why gentle parenting doesn't work, but it can. It can in some ways. Yeah. So we also have drum roll, the 5 common myths on gentle parenting.
Mhm.
So I'll kick it off to you, Dr. T.
Well, the first myth is that gentle parenting, like it leads to like a permissiveness. Like it's just you let your children do whatever they want. It's just a way of just being saying like, "Yep, no problem, anything goes."
Yeah, and that's not the reality of it. It is, and I think we touched on this just recently, that it actually involves setting clear and consistent boundaries and expectations. It focuses on respectful communication, right? Just not communication, but respectful communication. Um, and it is definitely not a matter of or it doesn't include discipline, right? So gentle
Mhm.
parenting does involve some discipline through teaching, modeling, like you mentioned, Dr. T, is a teachable
Right.
moment, problem solving rather than punishment, and really fostering self discipline in the child, right? So, discipline is just not about listening to the parent, but also like, is this for me? I need some self discipline, right? Am I going to eat all the cake or just a slice? Well, that's my own issue. Yeah, so myth number two, I'll kick it off. Gentle parenting spoils children and leads to entitlement.
That's a big one. And then I often hear, but I just want to clarify something too. And Ebony touched on this. I do also like the phrase conscious parenting because in a way, gentle is probably not the best way to describe it because for us, like when we learned in school, and I know you learned this too, Serene, we did learn about permissive parenting. And in a way, like gentle and permissive can kind of be like the same terminology. So I do feel like there is a part of people that when they hear gentle, they hear permissive. That does lead, that lacks of boundaries will lead to kind of people being spoiled, children being spoiled, or children having difficulties recognizing or being grateful for the things that they have. So just on that phrasing alone is an issue. But conscious parenting, using that phrase and just being like, how am I going to be conscious of what my child is going through? How am I going to be when I'm going to discipline them? Can I be empathetic of their situation? Can I understand where they were coming from while also disciplining them, and not disciplining them from a place of emotion, but just saying like, can I just take a moment to be conscious of what they might have been going through, and how can we make it work?
Absolutely. Being intentional, and it's not perfect, but it's well. I'm going to bring up something from Charlene. Hi, Charlene. How are you? Charlene. Tell them what you do. So Charlene posts, gentle parenting is this generation's way of trying to heal generational trauma. Yes, I love that.
Yes.
Right. So it's definitely a way of parenting, being aware of the way we were parented, and deconditioning, right? Some of that, and going into parenting in a way that we understand what we experienced, what was not helpful,
Right.
and just really, like you say, Charlene, breaking the cycle of generational trauma and setting the trajectory of generations to come of how to be this, enter into the softer side of them
Mm-hmm.
themselves. I love that. Melanie, and guys, know that we're going to go up and down. Like we see the comments,
Yeah.
we're going to post the comments. So, bring them on. So Melanie puts up, how do we stop the vicious cycle of doing what was done to us, i.e., getting our butt whooped, cursing, demoralizing? We love that.
And you know what? That's actually one of the myths. That is one of the myths that we have where, and this is a big misconception because we work with diverse populations, is gentle parenting only works for a certain type of population. It doesn't work for our children. And that's a really great point of the vicious cycle and also healing.
Hmm. So Dr. T was very nice. So I'm gonna put out. So a lot of times, Black people be like, "This is not for our kids. Let's keep it 100." And our Black Caribbean and Black Africans, right? And this is not a negative thing, but a lot of times I've heard persons say that's not for us, and it
Mhm.
is for us. It is a way to gain new perspectives, and we'll probably touch on that again. It is a way to you can preserve culture, and it is part of the cultural variability, right? When we talk about gentle parenting, so you can fine tune it to fit your cultural ways and needs. It doesn't mean that it's like this, and you have to completely dismiss
Mhm.
what your brought up see or your upbringing was. Um, Melanie, you mentioned about getting your butt whooped, cursing, and demoralizing in a way that a parent had utilized these forms of reaction out of whatever they were going through, and not to get
Right.
into the weeds of it, but a lot of times people are parenting from anxiety, depression,
Yeah.
um, untreated mental illness. They are parenting, like Charlene said, from generational ways of doing things.
Right.
It's so sorry, my thing is falling. So when you mention this, it's about really being in this space with us, right? And start to think about, how am I reliving my past childhood experiences?
Right.
Am I doing this? Right. And if someone's giving it to question, then it offers you an opportunity to break the generational cycle of trauma or the generational cycle of unhealthy parenting. Thank
Right.
you for that. Yeah.
I just want to also add that we have to separate, like, corporal punishment is not a part of our culture. And I often hear people will say, like, that's just how it's done. That's what it was. But it really, if you look back at history, that really wasn't our culture. Before, slavery, before all of that, we revered children. We saw children as an extension of our generations and everything like that. So for like hitting was foreign up until slavery, where it's just like you got to hit children to keep them in check, to keep them in line, to make sure that the slave master doesn't see um, them slacking or being lazy. So I just want to bring that to attention. Like, we have to separate the fact that it's not a part of our culture, that it's a part of something that was done to us, and that was traumatic. And I just want to make that very clear. And I always tell people, like, part of parenting also has to be your own healing journey. You have to take that moment and process what was done to you in therapy, because you're also processing what was done to your ancestors as well.
Love it. Absolutely. Yeah, it's so important to release that. Where persons they, you probably, I mean, you probably have heard people like, oh, they just need a good whooping.
Yeah, we have heard that.
And I'm like, and people like, oh, that's why these kids today are the way they are because
Yeah.
they don't get no beatings. And I'm like, we are descendants of compassionate parenting. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know why well, I understand why. We know why, right? Because it's been
Mhm.
of years of whooping, but we are not descendants of whooping. I'm
Nope.
sorry to break the news to you, but that is not our culture.
Right. And we're carrying on a practice that was used to dehumanize us. And that's how we break that vicious cycle, by breaking that pattern that was used to break us into slavery, or used to break us into Jim Crow, or situations where, we were discriminated against. And Ebony brought up a good point when she's on Instagram. She said, this language emboldens professionals to mistreat our children. Absolutely. What's so interesting is that they'll say that to discipline your children, but then they're the same people saying that, okay, we're going to call Child Protective Services on you. So at the end of the day, it's like, if it's the thing that's working for you, this is the thing that taught us this, then why is it being used against you to punish you, and also to take our children away, and separate families?
Right, right. Yes. Right. Boy, that's a whole nother live child.
Yeah, that's okay. Systemic trauma is definitely a whole other lie. That's so true. Like, if we can
Yeah,
go.
like it is very deep rooted, and we could do a whole hour and a half or
Yeah.
two about corporal punishment and how it's been criminalized.
That's a whole year. Let's pin that. That's another life. That's another life.
Yeah, yeah. Melody, you done started something. Okay, thank you. So the other myth is what do we have here? Gentle parenting is time consuming and only for
Yeah.
stay-at-home parents.
Oh gosh, yeah. Gentle parenting. I love that one. The time consuming. I will say that transforming the systems in your home, and using strategies that are different from what you've been used to, is absolutely going to be time consuming. But that's just like with anything, right? And I remember telling Serene last night, there's no such thing as gentle teaching. It's just teaching. A good teacher is a teacher that teaches well, and her students learn, and there's no labeling that. So we pretty much to call it gentle parenting and say it's time consuming. Everything worth doing is time consuming. That's why teachers spend so much time in school. It's why doctors, I spent 5 years in school. That's time consuming so that I can learn and be an expert in my field. So everything worth doing is time consuming, and the things that are doing are often quick, but they're not long lasting.
Love that. I'm going to bring up Chaz. Chaz says or asks, how does a parent become unfrustrated?
That's a great
Um, yeah, and that's a good one, right? And so Chaz, I think I am interpreting that this parent may be experiencing frustration as part of their parenting. And that they may possibly experience frustrations many times for different things.
Yeah.
Or there's a reoccurring behavior of a child that doesn't seem to change or improve. And so that's a very, I'm going to say that's a broad question, right? But for the sake of the live, I would say that it does require the parent to be use some, I don't know, they use this thing called emotional intelligence, but use some mindfulness and awareness about where this frustration is stemming from. Is a frustration stemming from feeling inadequate? Is a frustration stemming from feeling that you're not in control? Is a frustration from you don't know what the heck to do? Is
Mhm.
a frustration coming from work burnout, a strained intimate relationship? Maybe you're a caregiver of an elderly parent. The frustration can come from so many things, and the child is the icing on the cake. Tell me what you think about that. Okay. Um, so Chaz, oh, okay. Hmm. We're very compassionate here, Chaz. So we're taking our time
Yeah.
reading your comment.
Thank you for sharing that too. And I think it's helpful for your vulnerability to being vulnerable with a lot of other parents because I'm sure people share the same sentiments.
Yeah. So what I want to do is I'll let Dr. T respond and then I'll chime in. Yeah.
I think that first I just want to get it from two angles. So there's could be many reasons why a parent could be frustrated, and I'll just talk about what I've seen in my practice. And it's usually because, well, not usually, but I will say some of the reasons that I've seen is that a lot of times the behaviors are taken personal. It's just like you're doing this and you're doing it to piss me off. And then it almost requires that reframing of your child's behavior because a lot of times your child really isn't trying to do anything to hurt you, or they felt hurt and they're just responding to that action. So I can see a lot of parents that I work with are just like, they're clearly doing this to hurt me. They're clearly doing this to make me feel bad about myself. The second thing is people are burnt out. Like there's been a recent study done where they were saying like the most now it's coming out that the most significant factor of a child's mental health is a mom's mental health. So if a mom is feeling depressed, if a mom is feeling stressed out, if a mom is feeling burned out from work, a lot of those times when you're at work, you can't tell your boss off. You can't say anything to your boss. You got to be in tow and be in line. And every time you're interacting with a person, you're not the true version of yourself, right? Like you're like, how are you today, Serene? I'm fine. All that you're carrying with you. So then you go home, the one place where you feel safe and like the one place is your sanctuary, and then your child spills milk. That irritates you from everything that you've experienced from 7 o'clock in the morning to now they're not doing their homework, to now they don't feel comfortable, to now they don't want to take a shower. And that's too much because all you've done has been in service to other people. And now you're expecting your child to be in service to you and to help you out. So a lot of it comes from everything you've experienced from the earlier on in the day to now I'm fighting with my child. So, and that leads me to my last point of just like, we have to build a village. Building a village is key, and building something you check in with. And I say this to a lot of single moms that I work with. I know it's hard, but like we're not meant to do this alone. That is the biggest thing. Parenting is not, we cannot do this alone. And I say this as a new mom myself. There is no way that I'd be able to do all of this by myself. The mental load alone for a mom is is the most significant thing I've ever experienced in my life. And I'm a psychologist who did a dissertation, 100-page dissertation. I'm telling you, being a new mom is so difficult. So I will say, like, building a village is probably one of those steps to take to helping you just hold yourself accountable and not to parent from guilt or blame.
Hmm. Yeah. And just to add, building a village, it can evolve in different phases of your life. So if you're a new parent, you may have had a certain village, and then when your child is 10 or 12, or you're in a different space in your life, whatever that looks like for you, the village may involve other different people. It may involve professionals. It may involve a combination of things. And if anything, the pandemic has shown us how I think a lot of people have experienced an evolution or a change in their relationships very quickly and unexpectedly. Uh,
Right.
and so you had to think about different ways to communicate. Like we were doing a lot of virtual communication. And so, but I do want to start from the end, Chaz, with regarding to curses. You are not cursed. It's important to know that you are not cursed. And the reason why I am zoning in on that because if we're leading with that, then that is the way that you will feel. You will feel frustrated. You feel frustrated because you feel cursed. And so, what we're offering you is the opportunity to release that idea of being cursed. Is it hard? Probably yes. Is it stressful? Yes. But curse usually is something that people view as a very infinite, is it's permanent. But if you utilize the frustrations, which we like that you're using, stress, those are things, right, that we deem that can be changed. So I like that you asked how to become unfrustrated. But let's release. If you need to write down the word cursed and
Yeah.
burn it on a piece of paper, or write it on a toilet paper and flush it down the toilet, get rid of it. And let's work on the frustration because you are not cursed, right? So,
Well, we just real quick, we do have a question from Instagram.
yeah,
If you're a woman who has had a hard time making connections, how would you go about building a village?
yeah. I'll let you answer that.
Oh, like your Instagram, I hear this a lot, especially with people who, and I work with people who are neurodivergent, ADHD, autism, where it's difficult making those connections. And I want to say that I understand, but I will say compared to about 10 years ago, I think now it is a little bit, not, I want to say easier, but I think that it's more accessible to make connections. And one of the ways that I realized is that Facebook has been a great place. There have been really a lot of women who say I struggle to make connections, and I've been finding success on Facebook. Even just finding not traditional ways of meeting up, like especially if you're a new mom, like myself, I've looked up new support groups. I've asked the hospital. I made sure, like when I left, I was like, hey, like, do you have anything that you have for someone like me? And she gave me a list of resources. Even the library, I went to the library and I was like, do you have any new parent groups or anything like that? And they gave me a whole list. So there are definitely traditional places that we pay taxes to that definitely have the resources that are available. Also, like even just checking in, going to the city local office and just being like, I am a new mom, or I'm not even if you're a new mom, but like, hey, are there any parenting groups in this area? People can give you a list, especially if your child has special needs. Checking with your school. If you're in New York City, there's something, every school has a parent coordinator, and you better go to them because they get funding. A lot of them get funding and they have the resources. So please use them as a resource. Go to your PTA meetings. I'm a school psychologist, and I will say like the PTA meetings are gonna be your source of support, but they're usually parents usually don't go to them. Get involved in your PTA, lead a PTA, and go, and especially because their kids are going to the same school. So that is like one area that I will say a lot of moms don't utilize.
I agree 110%. Definitely. And people like, I don't have time. Well, you don't have time to keep going to the school every time they call you. You don't have time to continue to walk out of the store because your child is having a meltdown. You don't have time for a lot of those things that require support when support is there.
Right.
Even if that means going once every 2 months to PTA meeting, maybe go to the PTA meeting for the first 30 minutes, that try that out, right? In small doses and build your way up. But there is support there. Yeah. Let's see. We have another anything from Instagram.
We just have my lovely friend Millie. She said, we need to let go of carrying the load alone and stop identifying as a strong mom. Lean on our loved ones. Yes. Ask for help and share with others how hard this can be. Absolutely love that.
Yeah. Melanie, there are tons of online support groups. Tons. We don't have enough time. One place to start Facebook. You're here, right? There are other moms, if anyone wants to start a support group on a WhatsApp, you know, drop it in the comment section. You can start there, but there are so many virtual spaces for parent support groups. And we're also going to share a few resources that we have. If you stay with us on the live, we're going to get into that in just a few. So Definitely. There are many support groups online. And thank you for asking that. Globally, I might add.
Yeah.
Right. So where are you from, Melanie? Are you from another country or let us know? Everyone drop your flags in a comment because I read Antigua and Barbuda. Hello, ANU268.
I love it. I love it.
Drop the flag. Yeah. So any more questions, comments, please share them. Yeah. So I guess we can just sort of summarize, right, Dr. T,
Yeah.
what our definitions are. I'm having some technical difficulties, Dr. T, so I drop out. I'll be back and just keep talking to the people. Um,
Okay.
Google is upgrading while we are living. So just in case I'm just getting online, just in case I get dropped out. So yeah, so if we want to sort of, I think touch on a few limitations, which we did already, with
Hmm.
regards to the gentle parenting and sort of redefining healthy ways to parent.
Yeah. Well, I'll so for me the son, I think gentle conscious parenting has its strengths for sure. But I will say that I don't think it's necessarily sustainable because I think that sometimes parents would just it puts you in a position where you're almost reacting. And I don't want parents to focus on the reaction when it's just like, this is how I'm going to respond to my child every single time. I firmly believe that people should be more proactive and preventive. Like, let's stop this behavior from even. Oh, did you go out for a little bit, Serene? Okay. Well, I was just saying that I was like, we need to just focus on prevention. Like, oftentimes when parents will say, well, how do I respond to this? And I'm like, why don't we come from an approach of why did this even happen in the first place? And let's stop it from happening again. Because I don't want you to be so like, I'm just reacting all the time. That is also going to burn you out. It's not sustainable to kind of just be like, okay, so I'm just reacting to this. I'm reacting to this. I'm making sure this doesn't happen. Let's build a system that works. Oftentimes I'll also hear as an educator and a psychologist, I've tried everything, nothing works. That's also the issue, is that we're trying so many new things and we're looking to TikTok, we're looking to all these different supports when it's just like, let's just focus on one system, one strategy, one intervention, one core value that we can implement in your home to make it more accessible. Because gentle parenting on its own, to me, is just a little bit too reactive when we need to kind of focus on a preventive approach as well. I don't think we can. I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah,
Also,
you go.
gentle parenting, it should mature. So,
Yeah,
in our
that's true.
practices, we have team clients, and I am observing sometimes how the parent is talking to their preteen. I'm
Hmm.
like, they are not 5 years old. This 11, 13-year old is not five anymore. And so that technique probably didn't work, whatever I guess you thought it was. It's not working. So it needs to evolve. It needs to mature with the child. And that usually is a tell sign that the parent is struggling with parenting consciously or in a healthy way. And a lot of times when parents are utilizing GP or gentle parenting and it's not working, it's because they are not in attune to their own emotional wellness, like Dr. T mentioned. And it really requires awareness of where you are mentally and emotionally.
Yeah.
And it really needs to mature with the child, right? So usually when a parent is utilizing their parenting styles when their child was 5 or 6, and the client comes to us when they're about 13, 16, usually that teen is expressing some thoughts or emotions, almost like they feel they're being suffocated.
Hmm.
Yeah. Hey Ned. Hey DJ Ned. Thank you for stopping by. Oh, you loading us with some questions. Okay. How do you continue to give positive reinforcement to one child for good behaviors while another child is displaying not so good behavior. Oh, I like that one. Um, and so I guess you're right. So you have, if someone has more than one child and one child is exhibiting good behaviors, another one is displaying bad behaviors. It's okay to say bad. I say BAD, mean. I mean, okay. So, and you go on to mention, especially when the one displaying the bad behavior doesn't care about the positive reinforcement you are giving to the other child. Um, so, hmm. So what my interpretation of that is that this parent is displaying this parent is intentionally displaying positive reinforcement in front of the child that is showing difficulty with managing their behaviors, their emotions, and they're doing some bad things.
Yeah.
Now, if you at work, now this is my interpretation, you can correct me. It's a parent, if you're at work and you can't seem to get the spreadsheet right, and the other employee gets the spreadsheet right, and the boss is like, hey, Dana, you get an iPhone because you get, give you all the bells and whistles. After a while, you're like, whatever. I'm just not going. I'm just not going to do the spreadsheet right.
Yeah.
Do you agree with me, Doctor T? I'm like,
It,
I'm just.
it's like you're hopeless. It's like, all right, well, you got an iPhone. Guess Dana's a special one. I'm gonna leave
Right.
it 5 though, regardless. Like we're at the end of the day, it is what it is.
And and the other interpretation is positive reinforcement only displayed for the same behavior?
Mm.
Is there anything else good that this other child does that where they can be given positive reinforcement?
Yeah. And I also just want to say too, also like you mentioned, and this is why gentle parenting to me also has a little shortcomings because it doesn't take into account developmental periods. Like if you have two kids that are different ages, that's also going to make it a little bit harder because I don't know the children's ages in this example, but let's say you have a 7 and a 4-year old, you're going to reinforce the 4-year old, and the 7-year old is going to be like, all right, well, I didn't really care about Ninja Turtles anyway. So that's also going to play into that situation. And it can work in certain situations. I wouldn't use it or make it the go-to. um but I would say that there's also even, oh, I see, have twins 3 years old, gotcha, okay, well they're the same age, so that even still I would just take into account that probably have different interests and different personalities. Every child has a different temperament. It doesn't matter like where they are and how close they are. If they're twins will always have two different temperaments, and one twin might value something, the other twin might say, well, I don't really care about that. So while it could work for a little bit, it's not going to be something that's going to work long term. I would make sure that, like I said, going back to the systems, how do we ensure that we're not even going to get to this point in the first place, that both kids know the rules, and to get to the point where the sibling is just like, hey, you know the rules, like, hey, let's get it together. So that's kind of where you want the goal to be, where it's just like we're not even getting there to begin with, where everybody knows the rules and everybody knows what's expected of them. And I think Melanie brought up a good point where you may resent the other one. That's true. Sometimes you might create resentment, especially if you have one child that has autism, ADHD. They often feel like if you're going to use that approach, then it's going to make me feel like the outsider.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Totally agree. Yeah. Um, and so, we're going towards the end of our live, and you know, Dr. T and we brought this to the attention because we see it a lot in our practices. When we are meeting, you're welcome, Nat, you're welcome. When we are meeting with our clinicians, and coaching parents, we this oftentimes comes up. Sometimes the term gentle parenting is not used, but the way in which they're describing parenting, it screams that, and so we want to offer like information, education, and resources surrounding that. Um, the children of today, their issues look different, but parenting has never been easy. It's
Yeah, and
never
there's no
been easy.
manual. There's no manual, and I just want to make that like there's no guidance. It's not something that's taught in school. People are just kind of like figure it out, and they gave you a baby from the hospital and just like bye,
Yeah,
see you soon. So I don't want to take that away. Like this is very hard, and it's also even harder when you don't have great examples, and when
mhm,
you're also trying to heal from your own trauma. So I don't want to take any of that away. If you are a parent and you weren't given good models as a child and you grew up seeing a lot of different things and being hurt in your processing, I just want to say like you should give yourself a pat on the back. Like you are doing the best that you can regardless of where you are in your parenting journey.
yeah, yeah. Um, so that brings us to like some resources that we have, right? So, Dr. T and I are both, yes, Dr. T is a licensed clinical psychologist, and I'm a licensed therapist, but we're both parent coaches for different reasons. And so, parent coaching is an opportunity where parents can really get tailored supportive services
Mm,
specific to their needs. And so, probably in the future, you will see some support groups happening from us. But the individual piece is key, right? Because it is hard, and we work and we live in a very fast paced environment. And we live in a world where, like Ebony had mentioned, you're on social media and people, they're telling you about their wonderful, successful parenting. So it's coming at you in so many different ways, and it can be quite overwhelming and
right.
frustrating. And so, Dr. T is going to talk to you about her parent coaching and as well as myself. I just wanted to bring up to you, and so, Dr. T, if you don't mind, like the differences between family therapy and parent coaching. Because I think a lot of times people are like, well, I'm just going to get family therapy. Well, mm, um, as insurance have it, not so much.
Yeah.
So
Not
I
so
want
much.
to share the differences about it, if you don't mind. Let me just take this out so people can sort of see it, and we hope that you can see it full screen. So the differences between family therapy and parent coaching is that family therapy, it aims to address family conflict, where parent coaching aims to help parents develop strategies and skills. Family therapy, it uses psychological theories typically, and parent coaching, it adapts practical and actionable approach. Family therapy insurance limits sessions, and the focus usually is the child, right, and the client. So a diagnosis needs to be given. Where parent coaching, there are no session limits and is tailored to the parents' challenges. So it really offers you an opportunity to focus on you
Mhm.
and your struggles and your challenges and gain some strategies specific to the needs. Now, what I want to do is, because you're probably like, well, this is a licensed psychologist and you're a licensed therapist. And Dr. T, if you want to share with them what the different coaching programs that we offer, and then allow you to talk a little bit about your coaching program.
Well, yeah, I will say that, I just wanted to make the distinction. Insurance usually covers something diagnosable. So we're always going to give you a diagnosis at the beginning of or after, I should say, a diagnosis session. Coaching, and I created coaching because there are people who don't necessarily meet the criteria for a diagnosis. They just need support. Like my child may not have ADHD or they may have autism, but it doesn't meet the level of requiring therapy or healthcare. It's just something extra support. So I'm going to just quickly share like what that means for us. Let me just share my slides. Oh, it's not. My slides aren't popping up for some reason, but it's okay because I could just explain it.
Oh no,
Oh, because you have your. Oh,
yeah,
got it. Okay.
sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Let me see. I think that was blocking. Okay, stream
You have a lot
clear.
of Queens people.
Yeah. All right. So it's just saying processing. But yeah, like I said, coaching for me, I started it really because there are just people who just need quick support. And like, all right, can you see it now? I'm gonna add it to the stage. So for me, like I said, I just want to make sure that everything is long term. I find that some people like they're being given tools, but they're saying nothing is working. So our goal is a holistic assessment. And for the parent that mentioned, like I'm a single mom, I have so many things going on. That is like the number one priority is just to making sure like, hey, like what are some things that we can incorporate in terms of nutrition, movement, exercise, or any other aspect of wellness that might be getting in the way. So we try to address those barriers from a holistic standpoint. And I created something called the growth method because that's what it really is. It's not about being gentle or conscious. It's just about how do we grow, how do we break cycles, and how do we make a sustainable system that works for the family. So I'll definitely keep this information up for a little bit if you want to screenshot it. But you can definitely check out our website to get more information on our packages and what we're doing. Because for me, like my goal is just to help advocate for families. It's what I did in the school system, what I continue to do. And a lot of parents just benefit from this coaching instead of like therapy because it may not be something they need or it just may not be covered by insurance in general. So I'm just
Yeah.
going to remove that. And we're back to us.
Did anyone want to take a screenshot of that before I go into my slide? You can just put a comment if you want it back. But we'll put it back soon enough. Yeah.
You can also follow our pages too. I'll can we drop that in the chat? Like just
uh,
your
yeah. How do I do that? I think Melanie said, so Melanie, I took a screenshot. Melanie wants to take a screenshot. So let me put yours back.
okay.
You put yours, are you able to?
I will do it. Yeah, I'll put it back. There it is.
Okay. So Melanie, if you want to take a screenshot of that.
Or anybody on Instagram.
Mhm. All right. Um, and so my parent coaching really is designed for parents who are experiencing difficulties and conflicts with co-parenting, parenting children with behavioral health concerns, blended family conflicts, and parenting teens with serious mental health conditions. And so these four pieces of parenting are really rooted in my past experience as a child welfare foster care agency worker, working in the child welfare system, working as a Medicaid service coordinator, and then fast forward becoming a licensed therapist. And so co-parenting is a big thing, whether it's parents who partnered and had a child together, parents who were married, separated, divorced. And co-parenting is difficult,
Yeah.
living in separate households in itself can bring on quite difficulties, and it really impacts the child's mental health. And parents do see that, and we see a lot of that in my practice. And so the co-parenting conflicts is really to help parents who may be at a place where they want mediation or maybe they want to return to court. And so before they get to that point, they would reach out to me and really go over a plan and develop a plan and how to strategize to decrease these conflicts. Parenting children with behavioral health concerns, so children who may be exhibiting, like one of you said, maybe behaviors that are unchanging, who are not responding to positive reinforcement. You also have blended family conflicts, so you have persons who they may have remarried or partnered after
Mhm.
separating or breaking up. And now the step parent is trying to find their footing in this family and is causing strife. Oftentimes, the child is wanting to show loyalty to the biological parent. So they're butting heads with the step parent. The step parent doesn't feel like they have a voice. The biological parent, so to speak, is trying to balance and keep calm between everyone. And it's just causing a lot of conflict. All the while, there may be difficulties with parenting and parenting teens with serious mental health. And so I think we all can collectively say that there is a mental health crisis among our youth and particularly teenagers. So, for any of those who may have teens or work in a facility, I'm certain that you've seen that there's been an uptick in teens who are experiencing emergent psychiatric care. And a lot of times, parents are unaware of resources. They are struggling to support their child. There's conflict that is brewing or is happening or occurring between them and their teen. And they are just really frustrated and just living in a very fearful life because when their phone rings, they don't know what that means. And so when I talk about serious mental health concerns, we're talking about personality disorders, we're talking about emotional dysregulation, we're talking about parents who probably receiving calls every week or every other day from the school about their child's mental health or what they're expressing. And so, parent coaching with Serene is designed to help you address these conflicts, these challenges, develop strategies, plans, and come up with resources and plans to engage in these resources for help and support and ongoing progress and just having a healthy parent and child. So, I'm sure you will screenshot it. We have a free 30-minute consultation, and that ends December 3rd. And so we hope that each of our coaching programs resonates with you and that you all um, can take advantage of it. Is there a way to like bring up both of our stuff?
I don't think so.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
just one at a time.
it's just one at a time?
That's
Oh,
what's coming up on my end.
oh, okay. Um, okay, I guess we should have split screened it. Right. Oh, I didn't think of that, right? I was like, "Oh, it can do it." No, it can't do it.
Yeah, or
So,
even just combine it and put it into one slide. We'll have another one we'll
yeah.
do later.
So, so everyone, we are going to put our contact information. I'm gonna put your contact information, Dr. T, in Facebook.
Yeah,
Um,
because I'm streaming on Instagram, so I'll just put your information on Instagram. So we'll just kind of do it
okay.
reverse.
Um, I'm just tagging your page, Dr. And everyone, please feel free to drop a comment, a question. We're here. We're ending soon, but while you have us, please. And so, Path to Growth Counseling Services. I am dropping that in the. Am I spelling your name right? Oh yes, I don't think I spelled your name wrong, did I?
No, it's
Um,
just growth with Dr. T. So
I
have to go.
dropped it in
Yeah.
the comment section, so
Oh, perfect. Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So please feel free to reach out to us. Stay tuned for more from us. I really enjoyed this. I have to say and thank you to you parents for sharing your personal stories. Um, that is probably the most valuable thing of this live because
Yeah.
what you're sharing, there are many other parents who are experiencing similar things. There are shared experiences. It may not be the same, but there are shared experiences. And what you did was courageous, and what you did was actually helpful to someone else. And so I just want to thank you. Yeah, yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And also just be on the lookout because we are planning on doing more support groups and more workshops. So that's something that's our goal. And if you go on our website, www.pathtogrowthcounseling.com, please subscribe to our growth community and you'll always be up to date on the latest things that we are doing.
Yes, yes. So thank you all for joining us. Follow us on our social media platforms. Did I put your social media? Dr. T, you're on TikTok more than I am.
Yeah,
So
I
I don't
am.
guess the TikTok handle.
Yeah, my TikTok handle is the same as my Instagram handle, Growth with Dr. T.
Yes, and I'm Serene Prince, and thank you for watching. And if you have any questions that come up for you thereafter, you know where to reach us. You see our information in the Facebook page and in Instagram. And yeah, this was great, Dr. T.
Yeah, I'm so happy that we did this, and thank you for all the comments and hearts and everything like that.
Yeah, thank you all. Have a good evening, and we will connect with you soon.
Yes.
Peace.